Welcome to the Lake District for episode 5 of my 2023 training diaries. I'm coming to you from the Fells in northern England. That's what they call the mountains here. And I'm going to give you a first-hand look at the terrain as I experienced it for the first time myself in my first week here in England. I also had a chance to run my very first fell race. So you'll get a chance to see footage from both my recce of the route the day before and from the race itself. Well, it's Sunday morning. I had a really good night's rest. I had a really nice curry last night, followed by an English breakfast this morning. I arrived in England the morning of Saturday, June 3rd, and rented a car from London Heathrow Airport to make the roughly 6-hour drive over 2 days across basically the entire country, spending a night in Warwickshire so that I could visit the castle there, as well as Stratford-upon-Avon, the birthplace of Shakespeare. Before continuing to Cockermouth, a small town on the northwestern edge of the Lake District National Park. Highlights here include Cockermouth Castle, and it's also the birthplace of poet William Wordsworth. So I made it here to my Airbnb on Sunday night and did just a short shakeout run, but I was still pretty jet lagged, so I took Monday off as scheduled and drove 25 minutes west to a town called Whitehaven so that I could see the coast. On Tuesday, it was finally time to get a taste of the Fells, so I drove about a half-hour east to Mungrisdale at the foot of Blencathra on the northeastern edge of the Lake District, so that I could recce the course of a short fell race that I'd planned to run the next evening. So I've just arrived in a small village called Mungrisdale in between Keswick and Penrith, and this is where the race that I'm doing tomorrow is taking place, the Blencathra Fell Race. It's a 13-kilometer race that goes straight up this mountain over here. I had a 90-minute run on the schedule anyway, so I figured I'd come and do a bit of a recce of the course, try to get a feel for what I've got myself into tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be following a map during the race. We're not allowed GPX tracks, but today I do have the track on my watch and I'm finding it really difficult to follow this because in fell running, you're not always, in fact, I suspect you're usually not on an actual established trail. You're often going off trail, directly up or down the fell. And so I'm having a hard time figuring out if my track, if the GPS is just wandering and maybe the track wasn't quite accurate, or if I really should just be, in this case, going straight up this hill here. And I think that might be the case. I think I missed my climb, which was just back here, kind of straight up this hill. Oh, here we go. It's sort of a trail. Crested Bowscale Fell at about 700 meters. So far, I'm really enjoying this terrain. but I can see where I still have to go. It's way up there. It's just really hard to put into perspective because, you know, there's no trees to give you that perspective. And that to me just looks miles and miles away and hundreds of meters. Well, I guess it is miles away, and it is about 400 meters higher. So I do have some work to do, but that's Blencathra right there. That is my summit for the day. So it turns out that was a sub-summit back there, as is often the case. The true summit looks to be just up here along this ridge. Looks like it might roll a couple more times before reaching the true summit. So I made it to the top of Blencathra, and this is actually going to be one of the first summits during the Bob Graham round on leg 1 of the round. It looks like from here I follow this ridge down, and then I think I have just one more short climb, and then it's downhill all the way to the car. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Hey there, how's it going?
Good.
You can see that route there that I took on the first climb, and then I followed that ridge along there.
The next day, on Wednesday, I left home for the race a little early so that I could first make my way a little further east to Penrith to explore yet another historic market town. This one known for its stone buildings and the ruins of a 14th century castle.
One of my favorite things about these old castles are definitely the moats. And this one apparently was built on the site of an old Roman fort so that they could reuse the banks and the ditches here for defensive purposes.
Then it was time to head back to Mungersdale for the race.
Okay, so it's the night of the race, my first fell race. I've got here nice and early. I've got about an hour to do my gear check. There's quite a bit of kit required. Today's a beautiful day, of course, not a cloud on the sky, but you can get bad weather in the fells and it can move in pretty quickly. So yeah, full rain gear, map and compass, because courses and fell races, they're not marked. I'm expecting to see a couple of friends here, Jacob, who I know from Vancouver, as well as Rowan, who I know from Instagram. So I'm going to keep an eye out for them now as I go get checked in and pay my hefty £5 registration fee.
How are you doing, Jeff?
Rowan,
You all right?
good to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, how you doing?
Right? The trail race is marked. You just follow a path. Fell race, you have checkpoints, and it's your choice to go between the checkpoints however you want.
Okay.
Some races, this one is pretty well defined. You follow, it's a pretty well defined route, pretty well established. Some races you can just, people are everywhere, and yeah, it's a big route choice depending on what kind of terrain you want.
Yeah.
If you want to just send it straight down, or if you want to take the path, there is a bit of that on this.
Okay.
On the descent from Blencathra, some people follow the path.
Yeah.
Straight line it through the heather.
Yeah, nice.
Much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not rained for about 4 weeks, so everything is totally dry. It's completely, yeah, it's a bit out of season really. We usually get some good weather, but usually get a lot of rain as well. So everything's totally dry, which is good for a bob attempt. It's looking perfect.
If this holds up?
Yeah. I think it's due to pretty much hold. I think we've got a little bit of rain coming in the next few weeks, but if it stays fairly dry and doesn't rain too bad, you'll have good conditions.
Nice.
I've never done anything this half of the fells, I don't think. We did one a few weeks ago in
Yeah, we did
in
one.
Keswick, a black string.
Oh yeah.
That was fun. That was a bit shorter though. That was a straight up and straight down. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're crossing from Bowscale to Blencathra will be super boggy, but at the moment I think it's just totally dry.
But normally it's.
Yeah, normally it holds a lot of water. All these northern fells hold a lot of water.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize how lucky I am. Like everything's just bone dry, beautiful. But normally it's just a completely different story. Okay, here we go. Just a couple of minutes. I have a feeling I might be a little too far up front here, but let's see.
Welcome to the Blencathra Fell race from Eden Runners. Before you all start tonight, we've got a short presentation. Our race director is Dave Sargent. I asked people how long Dave has been the race director for. Nobody knows. It's a long time, and tonight is his last night as race director. So on behalf of Eden Runners and on behalf of you all, we made a plate up for him with Blencathra on it. So a round of applause for Dave.
As race organisers go, I can assure you it's not that long. There are many who have done much longer than I have, but thanks, that's kind. Golden rule of fell running: if you retire, it's not good enough to just tell a marshal. You must come back here and tell the finish line marshals. Just look out for everybody. It's fun, it's very serious, it matters immensely, and it doesn't matter that much. So if someone needs help, please give them help. Alan, we ready? Travis, ready? Set, go!
All right, here we go. First climb. You can see people already kind of choosing their own adventure. As long as we hit the major checkpoints, anything goes. Crest of the first hill, a little bit of flat running now. Can catch my breath before the last climb here. Top of the ridge. Okay, coming up first drink over here. Thank you. Really hard to pace these short races. I always want to pace them like they're a 50K. I find it hard to keep the gas down. Thank you. It's tough, eh?
Oh, it's mental. Honestly, when I was running that bit, it felt like how I would feel running from an apocalypse.
Yeah.
The recce, it turns out, wasn't totally necessary, given how firmly mid-pack I'd found myself.
All right, so it turns out we didn't have to climb that first false summit. skirt around it.
But it was nice to have a sense of where I was on the course so that I could better pace myself on the climbs and on the descents.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. There we go. Woo. Last climb up ahead onto that ridge there. Oh, it's just really starting to hurt, but it's almost over. All right, this must be the last checkpoint up here. And then it's just down to the finish line. Thanks. Thanks. Whew. Whoa. Down again. Oh man. Well, that's how you do it. This guy's bum sliding. Oh shit! Oh, yeah. Oh. Thank you. Almost there. Right on, buddy. Hey, oh, nice work, man. Nice work.
Well done, mate.
Crazy. That was crazy. Hey, that downhill.
I don't know how you
came back to life. That was tough.
That was tough.
That was tough.
I don't know whether I got a 2-minute PB or 2 minute off my PB.
Okay,
I
but you're
can't
close.
remember what my best time was.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. But I had a good race. Enjoyed it.
So that's fell running, eh?
Yeah, it's good fun, eh?
Yeah.
You like the downhill?
Yeah, I
You see why
lost.
you couldn't find it?
Yeah.
That was good fun?
That was a lot of fun.
That's fell running.
That was a lot of fun. Let's see how I did here. What was your position overall?
32.
32, nice.
Happy, and it's a 3-minute PB as well, so.
All the way down there. Number 96. I'll take it.
And we're training for the Verbier mountain marathon.
Thanks to one of your videos,
Actually, yeah, it's one of your videos. You went to the Alps, so we're training for a
up
week.
here for a week,
Yeah.
trying to get some hills.
And then so we go to the pub now?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Cheers.
Yeah, it's organised by a club, so it's not a commercial race at all. It's just run by a club for the runners.
Yeah.
So it's not publicised, they're not making any money, they're not giving you medals, it's just turn up, pay your money, pay your fiver, and run up the hill.
And what kind of athletes will we have had tonight?
You'll have had everything. You'll have had the elites at the front. You'll have had champions, maybe English champions or contenders, all the way through to everyone at the back.
There's pretty much one of these like every Wednesday, and
Yeah.
at least once on the weekend, pretty much every weekday.
Through summer, just in the Lake District, there's probably one most Wednesdays and every Saturday. But then, you know, there's fell running in other parts of the northwest and the rest of the country as well. So you can go to the Yorkshire Dales or Lancashire or the Peak District, and there's just races everywhere.
Yeah.
So my quads were pretty trashed on Thursday, the day after the race, but I headed back to Blencathra for a third time in as many days to get the drone footage that I showed you earlier. And this time starting from a different trailhead and following a ridge called Hall's Fell down from the summit, which I'll be taking during the Bob Graham round. And it's one of the more technical parts of the route, but fortunately it does come early, right at the end of leg 1. On Friday, I did just a short, easy run, and Saturday I went to the local fitness center up here to hop on the stationary bike and to do some foam rolling and stretching. This was a recovery day in advance of my scheduled long run the next day on Sunday, where I'd be doing a recce of the first 2 legs of the Bob Graham round with my friend Rowan. And we ended up covering about 44 kilometers with close to 3,500 meters of elevation gain in just under 9 hours on feet as we bagged the first 15 of the 42 peaks on the Bob Graham round. But you're gonna have to wait until the next episode to see footage from that. I'm already feeling much more comfortable with the route now that I've gotten a feel for the terrain here. Having said that, it's been exceptionally warm and dry, as you've probably seen in the footage, so I've yet to have to contend with the usual mud and bogginess that typically plagues runners in the fells. So on the one hand, the heat could pose a challenge, but at least the ground will be solid underfoot, unless it rains in the meantime, which it actually is forecast to do. Now, I've also been hard at work in planning the logistics for the round, including organizing my pacers and crew and my schedule. Some of my decisions around gear and nutrition might come down to weather on the day, especially when it comes to my footwear choice. Again, if it does rain, that's probably going to change things a lot. I'll talk more about all of that in the next episode, which will also feature footage from my recce of the route, as I said. I'll be running legs 4 and 5 this coming weekend, and then we'll be pacing a runner on leg 3 the following weekend, the week before I attempt the entire thing myself. So subscribe to my newsletter to make sure you never miss an episode. I'm here in Cockermouth for just a few more days before I move down to Kendall at the southeastern corner of the lakes. And then finally back up to Keswick, where the Bob Graham round starts and finishes. If you're local to the Lake District and you want to meet up for a run, I am hoping to organize a little group run kind of meetup for the last week of June in Keswick, once Audrey joins me there as well. So stay tuned for all of that and more.